Hello everyone, I decided to make an update about my case. So basically my relationship with my son is completely eliminated. I don't have permission to talk or see my child right now. What happened is that I asked for a separation, and then my ex, who was in denial, he started writing how I'm difficult, how he cannot organize with me the visitation times and stuff, how I don't go to the doctor to make pediatric visits and everything, which was all declared as false. And on the 21st of February, my son was kidnapped because I was allegedly going to escape Switzerland, which is actually my country, and my ex is not even a citizen of this country. And so I was legally entrapped. For 4 months, I was forced to have visitation with my son only 4 hours per week, supervised. And this allowed the state to have more false reports about me, about my parental skills. So I was judged by people who don't have children, and they wrote that actually I manipulate my son 5 minutes during the time we go to the bathroom, and 5 minutes per week, according to them, that is like scientifically a significant time of manipulation. Yeah, and so I at the end of May, my lawyer appealed to the higher court for the second time or third time, and he asked for the custody to return to me like it was before, allowing still to the father to have all the visitation times that he had previously. And so the higher court decided that the tax for this was to be 2,500 francs on my expense. And so from May, basically, a lawyer I had before that assured me that I had free lawyer costs or something. At the end, she sent me a bill of 9,000 francs, and she told me to pay immediately. And so this bill, I was forced to pay it in 4 months, and my income was only from May was 1,200 francs. This was not even enough to cover my basic expenses of flat. As you know, social security here is mandatory, so there are also some 400 francs just for health insurance. And I was left from May until now, September, with 1,200 francs by the state of Switzerland. I asked the state to give me just enough money to pay at least my flat, and the head of the state of my city said no. So I didn't get any help from the state to survive these 4 months. And in the meantime, since my child was kidnapped, my mother basically, so she lost all her teeth. I can show you this. This is the mouth of my mother. And a dentist can tell you that the upper part, the bones, have disappeared in record time, something like in 2-3 months. And the dentist said that this is not a normal process of aging. It's just due to the stress of the kidnapping, the sadness. In Chinese medicine, this is also a sign of sadness when the bones get weaker and you lose the teeth. And basically, my mother, since March, April, she can't eat solid food because otherwise she doesn't have any teeth anymore. And the dentists in Switzerland, as you know, are quite expensive. From the other side, my father got many bleedings. He got heart problems that he didn't have before. and he needed to be hospitalized something like 3 times from February until now, and he was almost to the point of death in June. And recently again he was hospitalized again for bleedings. So this is the effects of child kidnapping on people. In the meantime, I acquired more knowledge about what is going on. There was an international protest on the 7th of September. I didn't manage to organize it here in my country because the people are scared, and I couldn't find not even 2 people to come to protest. So, and but we supported other protesters online. I shared live streamings of the other protesters. One guy called Fabrizio from Italy, and I'm in contact with the USA, a woman in India who is really fighting hard, and I really admire her. And in the end of August, actually, I met also a woman in Italy who has basically my same case, just that her daughter was kidnapped, but exactly the same case as mine. Happened, I think, 10 years ago, but she's still fighting, and it's another person that I admire a lot, and with which our group is in contact daily, and we support her also in Italy. I have helped also to coordinate the Italian protests and inform the Bulgarian organization who actually organized everything of this about this protest. And in the meantime, I read a lot of articles about what is going on, and actually I have to say I found one really great study from a website called Stop Abuse Campaign, which I have here. And I just want to make you a brief resume of this is exactly what is happening worldwide right now. So in the last 10 years, more than 600 children that were involved in custody battles were killed, and mostly by violent men, their fathers. A big part of these separation battles are domestic violence ones, and these are the abusers in these cases are the most violent ones. These are fathers that believe that they have the right to abuse and gain what they think it's theirs, which is a child, and they want to make war to the woman and to their ex, and they are ready to hurt their children, and because they want to that is the only way to hurt their ex, which are normally women are primary figures of attachment, and this way men manage to abuse even the children, and in extreme cases they manage to kill them, as you can see from the statistics. So the tribunals are not handling properly these cases, and there are research called ACE, which has done quite a really good research, in my opinion, because they have evaluated the family court and how it's working, and if the professionals who have these mandates, if they are competent. So the men that abuse women have 40 to 60% of probability more to abuse their children physically and sexually, and domestic violence makes so that the probability that the children are not taken care of is higher. The cost annually for domestic violence cases is of 750 billions of dollars, and this includes long-term consequences of living in fear and stress. This means that the family tribunals and other agencies are concentrating their efforts only on 1% of the problem. This is what the research found out. And other important parts of this research are there are a lot of professionals that have participated in the Sanders study have admitted that they don't have the necessary knowledge, and when they were tested, many of them have shown that the knowledge that they have is wrong. So the evaluators, the testers have shown that their response, that they are not knowledgeable, that they have made quite actually dangerous errors. And even if those participants are volunteers, so this is not a casual sample of statistic. It seems that the big part of the professionals don't have the knowledge necessary to respond to cases of domestic violence. Other research also confirmed this conclusion, and the superior interest of the good for the child is not really right now in taken care of, let's say. The Saunders study has found that professionals which don't have the knowledge, they concentrate on the myth that the mothers are often making declare that they are abused falsely, and that they attach themselves to theories of alienation which are not scientific. So the theory of alienation, it's not scientific, but excluding one parent from the other is damaging to the child, and so the family court should not really concentrate too much on saying like, okay, there is alienation, then let's kidnap the kid for the good of the kid. But they should help in the cases of domestic violence in better ways, because this way they are damaging the kids. Because they use this excuse of parental alienation actually to kidnap the kid, and then they are giving them in adoption, and this is quite damaging to the kids. This doesn't help at all the good of the kids. And they always assume that the mother is the problem, and then the weak mother was not able to protect the child, and this way they get rid of the primary figure of attachment of the child, which brings to really big consequences that I will mention just later. So Saunders have found that these decisions were wrong because not allowing the children to have a normal relationship with their first primary figure of attachment is damage that includes the increased depression, low self-esteem, suicide, and this is a much the biggest disadvantage that goes far beyond what they want to protect and to get. One of the reasons of this error is that the courts rarely take into account the risk of the risk of getting rid of the parents, of this parent, especially the mother. And then they use these theories to say that that is the reason why they did this extreme decision. So the Sanders found that they damage the child because they use common practices which are wrong. In cases of domestic violence, it says further that sharing custody is very damaging because who does the violence, they get control over the victims, and then they don't agree on decisions, and they use the visitation times at every contact to molest. I can confirm you this. This study is really like really an example of what I have to have in my life. Even if I'm separated, I still have the court encourages me to have even more contact with the molester, and he keeps on writing me since my child is kidnapped. Actually, he didn't stop writing to me even if he got what he wanted. He just keeps on, poor boy, he keeps on sending me emails. Like, this is a photo of him that he sent to me per email. The day that my child was kidnapped and taken to him, which is quite like a really an evidence that he is not okay mentally, because I don't see. And the content of his emails is like, you should now tell the son that he has to live with me, when he was taken away for no reason from me, and I don't have to lie to my son so that he stays with the father. I mean, it's really unbelievable. And I got all these emails almost daily from him since February, with pictures of him and not my son, and where you can find evidence that my son is crying long hours, but then he's saying he's okay, but then I managed to calm him down. I mean, but he's very okay, he doesn't want you. And then he writes that how my son doesn't want to talk with me. This is like very common. And also the social services, they write how my son doesn't want to talk to me. However, every single time that I spoke with my son or saw him, he said, I want to come back home. I don't like it with my father. He doesn't like it with even the partner of him, even the children. They are really uneducated, and when we are on the phone, they enter the room and he gets quite upset because we cannot really talk quietly. We get interrupted, or he gets cold, or he gets some toys when he's talking to me, and this way he loses even interest in this moment to speak with me. However, we spoke every time like more than 1 hour, and they are writing reports where they say that my child doesn't want to speak with me, and which is really unbelievable. But the court accepts this, and they say that yesterday I managed even in court to make the lawyer of my husband say that my son spoke with me always more than 1 hour, even when the judge decided that we can speak only 10 minutes 3 times a week, which is really like a criminal decision. And the moment that my husband implemented these 10 minutes, his strategy was really damaging to the brain of my child, because he said, look, this is a counter. You have 10 minutes, and when the 10 minutes are expired, you have to hang up on your mom, and you have to hang up, and otherwise you will end up in an institute. And if someone tells you if you want to come back to Lugano, you have to say no, because otherwise you will end up in an institute. I have videos where my child is saying this, that his father is telling him that if he says that he wants to come back home, he will end up in an institute. So he's basically manipulating since February the child, and the social services are allowing this. In the meantime, they are also saying how my child is not interested in contact with me, and this time is okay, because when the custody was mine and my child didn't want to go every weekend to his father, he wanted also to have a weekend with me. this was actually taken as my encouragement that my child doesn't want to be with the father, and it's my fault, even if I was not even there, that my child didn't want to go to the father, and this was very damaging for them, for the child, and they took the child away. But if my husband is doing this, then this is all allowed. It's allowed also the stalking. He can call, look for me in all the offices, medical offices in my town, and present himself as my brother. And the state doesn't protect me about this. They said that I wanted to escape Switzerland, but actually I'm a student, and not only this, in 2018 I was advised by an association to escape Switzerland. They advised me to escape Switzerland. This is an association against the social services. And I said, yeah, how can I escape Switzerland? You're crazy, because they will just arrest me, and I will really then lose my child. This is an advice that I cannot take, and it's really like offensive advice, because this is not an advice for a serious association. And in the meantime, right now, there was an article of a woman in Basel who escaped. You can see here, she escaped Switzerland, and she was helped by association to escape Switzerland. This was in the news. Yeah, she was helped to escape Switzerland. This is an article. 13 March. This is of 2019. I don't see from Basler Zeitung. I don't see the date of the article, but this is recent news. Yeah, and it's quite well known that the social services don't work well. I can show you this in the social media. You can find, actually, even from this association, they put even the names and the people who are involved in others. These names that are here show this, and many people know this. You can find here also, this is from social media. They're saying that the social services are really criminal, and they are not doing a good job. They are actually harming children. You can see also here these associations. They perfectly know that many people know that the social services are not in favor of mothers. I mean, it's clearly written. And yeah, and then so I finish the 25 most common mistakes that the article I mentioned before states that it's done, is that asking for a victim of domestic violence to forget. Like in court, I often hear, he, was bad with you too, but you can go ahead now. You should forget it and get over it. This is like really something, even another violence, another way of telling you, yeah, it's your problem. They're saying, your husband pays you, so you should find as soon as possible a job because he's so good in paying you. At least he's a good husband. And I said, it's been 6 years that he's calling me a stealer, and this is definitely not a good husband, writing such molesting letters, looking for me everywhere. I don't feel like I'm really able to live a normal life, honestly. And another problem is, another mistake would be to ask the victims to have more contact and cooperate with their molesters. I was asked this so many times, especially when the social services started taking into, helping that my child doesn't suffer. which meant that they just start saying that he's in danger, that we are in a conflictual situation, even if I didn't speak at all with my husband. And this woman told me that I have to, often speak with him and have email correspondence. He wrote me basically daily, and I was studying and taking care of my child, and I had to, according to her, I had to reply to his emails daily and cooperate with him. Since I had the full custody, I had school like every second weekend, and he wanted me to change my school schedule, which is impossible, because this school is a small private school and they don't change the schedule because of my husband. I mean, it's ridiculous. And he wrote to them that I don't cooperate because I don't change the dates of my school. So this is really ridiculous. And they increased the violence, they increased the contacts with him. They wrote so many reports that it's quite shaming, honestly. And then they shamed the victims of abuse. They told me that I should get over this. That maybe if it was even real, that it was in the past. So why are we even talking about it? Just let's. It's just my problem now that someone beat me. They don't understand that you're scared of the abusers, and they don't take into control that he's a good manipulator, because often these are women who don't have even a partner, single women, and they are really like licking my husband's ass because he's not really so handsome, but an older woman maybe is attracted to him, or the ways, because he's narcissist, so he's maybe charming ways, even if they don't so they are really behaving in an unprofessional way, and they see him like wow, he has a really good job in Switzerland, he has done career, so he's better than her because she's just a student, and this is it. And another mistake is thinking that this good behavior of an abuser in public, this is like a proof that that is how he behaves even in private, which is even like really, give me a break, And then not understanding the importance of putting the responsibility where it belongs, to the abuser, and recognizing that the professionals of the court concentrate on the myth that the mothers often make false allegations, and and these theories of alienation, which are not scientific, and this reveals that family court actually doesn't have the right qualification for cases of domestic violence. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, don't go to look for help. This is what I have learned since February, that I'm researching this the situation worldwide. So don't look for help, because the first thing that will happen when you look for help is that you will lose your child immediately. So I was even lucky that they didn't take my child 5 years ago, actually. I was stupid, thinking that I have human rights, and I went to these offices late. Because the abuse happened when the child was 1 year old. I asked for separation after some 6 months because it was a tough decision to ask for separation, because I thought I would be married only once, and so I had to think about it. And my ex was initially pretending, and he wanted to excuse himself, and that we will solve this, that he'll go to psychologist. But actually, when we went to a psychologist, he was just lying. And then this didn't bring to anything, and if he was lying, I didn't want to go to psychology because I feel like I don't need one. And I just lost my time because he didn't want to solve his issues. This was just an excuse to keep me with him. And what is wrong in family court is that they assume that the men who have success in other parts of their life, it's not probable that they abuse women and children, which is really also like a strange belief that they have. So this ACE comes from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. And Saunders is an National Institute of Justice of the Department of Justice of the United States. In the conclusion, it says that it's difficult to imagine why the public officials don't integrate this research, which is highly credible, into the practices that they have. ACE shows clearly that being exposed to domestic violence is very damaging, more damaging than what it was supposed to be. And Saunders shows that many or most of the professionals who work in family court use and don't take into account or minimize the victims of domestic violence that look for help, because they don't have the knowledge to understand the situation, and they think that it's always the women who makes up things, even if all the statistics say that there is quite right now is we are facing a women feminist killing of women worldwide, and the abusers don't get punished. The evaluators often concentrate on not important issues like conflict, and then, oh my God, let's take away the child because they earn money from it, but because they don't know how to control the domestic violence. I heard from someone that was involved in such a case that basically what they do is they give the child to the abuser, thinking that then the abuse will stop. But from my experience, I can tell you that since the child was given to him, the abuse on me and on the child has increased quite considerably, because my child on the last phone call that I had 2 months ago was trembling. He was scared to talk to me. He was so sad that he had these 10 minutes. He was scared, and I was kind of shocked, and I said, since the father many times told to me and him that I should die, I said, yeah, the people who do harm should really die, and your father is really bad, and I really wish him that, because I want you to survive this. And this was taken to court, this what I said, and basically now they are accusing, and I'm the mean person of the situation, because I just said something that everyone thinks, that who abuses children should die. I mean, that is quite obvious and human thing to say. For sure, I did not do right to say it to a child, but since the abuse is so long happening, and I'm basically not able to help my child, and I just wanted to tell him that one day he will get justice, hopefully, and that this is not right what is happening to him. And many times previously I explained to him that I'm sorry that I chose this father, and that I did a mistake, and I'm sorry what he has to go through, and that one day this will all end. But since then I couldn't keep my promise for this to end, actually, because the court doesn't allow me to protect my own child. Further, this research says that there is no good reason to continue obsolete practices which put in danger children, and there is inertia among the lawyers and the evaluators, and they're quite slow, and actually this field is quite, in Switzerland, these offices for the protection of children, they are really not working in the way Swiss organization work. They're quite slow and malfunctioning, and because they can at the end blame that they are not, they don't have any qualification to do this job and to be a judge of what is the good for the children. Let's say it how it is. The ACE is enthusiastic because finally we can use this knowledge to reduce cancer, cardiac problems, diabetes, mental problems, crime, suicide, abuse of substances, and many other problems of health and social problems. The family court has to stop being an obstacle to this progress, and certainly the higher interest of the child lies in the practices that save the children from this pain. And this is signed by the director of this research, Barry Goldstein. I have to say this is a really good article, and that's why I took some time. It's published on July 15, 2018. I just learned about it recently, and it's called Advice to the Judges, Evaluators, and Social Assistants and Legislators. And yeah, I advise everyone to read this, because this is really groundbreaking research. So the research is there, but no one is reading it or cares to do really what is the best for the child. I wanted to show you something else. I have also, through our contacts with the American groups protecting children, trying to protect the children against the family courts, I got this article, which is really, really good. I would like to share it with you. It just explains that there is no reason to place children outside, because they just have more sicknesses, and so it just reinforces what I just mentioned, that the children who get placed, they have higher rates of substance abuse and substance-related disorders. They have psychotic and bipolar diseases, depression, anxiety, developmental disorders, and other disorders. And it keeps on saying that so in the ages of from 18 to 25, those that have been placed had greater odds than never placed controls of substance-related disorders, psychotic, bipolar disorders, depression, anxiety, neurodevelopmental disorders, and others. They had more psychotropic medication prescriptions, so there is abuse also in the prescriptions to these children, because they are without any protection. Their parents are eliminated, and they make higher rates of crimes and property offenses too. So this is a research of 2018. I'll show you this only if you want to look for the article, that you can find something. Yeah, so this is also a very good research that I got from the American group that is interested also in protecting Family Forward, I think it's the name. And also I found in the meantime also this. So you see, eliminating one parent leads to emotional disorders, behavioral problems, and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And here, I don't know what it is, impaired brain development, you see, and chronic diseases. I mean, it's quite, we can talk here about breaking of human rights. And this is really something I really didn't expect to be living in such an age where we are damaging children. The longer the children are separated from the parents and caregivers, the greater the risk for lasting consequences. This is a source, scars of childhood stress visible in the brain, June 21st, 2018. So, chronic diseases include substance abuse, compromised immune system, cancer, CVD, and diabetes. This is what they are doing. They are basically killing, making the kids sick to gain money. And I wanted to, so for my case, I prepared some documentation that I wanted to give to court yesterday. To make them think about what they did, and the judge Pedrotti Matteo, he didn't want to accept these documents, and my lawyer couldn't make them accept it because the judge said that yesterday we were only there to discuss just my access to the child, and this way he blocked every other possible talk. So I prepared this documentation about stress in general. So there are two main ways to respond to stress, and through this mechanism the stress can alternate the functions of memory, compensation processes, immune system, metabolism, and susceptibility to sicknesses. And stress can make a person more susceptible to cardiac diseases, and even the most common flu. Then when human beings are under chronic stress, permanent changes happen to the physiological, emotive, and behavioral responses. And studies have shown that psychological stress can contribute directly to very high rates of cardiac sicknesses on the coronary arteries, and other sicknesses related to this. In particular, it was shown that the stress, acute chronic stress, increase the lipids associated with coronary diseases, serric lipids associated. And there are the stress, even acute or chronic, of low intensity, can induce anomalies in three main regulation systems of the body, and this is serotonin system, catecholamine system, the axis hypothalamus and hypophysia adrenocorticals, and aggressive behavior has been associated to anomalies in these systems. The activity of the sympathetic nervous system is called fight or flee response, and the emergency response or stress leads to higher heart rate, concentration of the force, vasoconstriction, vasodilatation, glycogenesis, glyconeurogenesis, lipolysis, which is the breaking of lipids, and sweating, diminution of the functioning of the digestive system, secretion of epinephrine and cortisol in the spine, and bladder weakening of the bladder, and the nervous response of the parasympathetic, which is the relaxing and digestion system, tries to go to maintain the homeostasis, which is the balance in the body, and is through bronchoconstriction, meiosis, increasing of the activity of the digestive system, and contraction of the walls. There have been observed that there is a relationship of factors of protection and vulnerability of the domestic violence in children on psychological diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and adaptation. It is believed that mechanisms correlated to the ANS contribute to increasing the risk of cardiovascular diseases after important stressful situations. This is all something that the family courts don't know, or they're not interested in this, but I think that no one can say that someone is doing the good of the children by what is currently done to the children worldwide. The immune system can be highly influenced by stress. Nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, innervates various immunological structures like the bone and bone marrow and spleen, regulating the immune function. The axis HPA leads to a release of cortisol, and that has immunosuppressive effects, so it suppresses the immune system. There is also increase of sicknesses associated with the reduction of the immune system, like infection and cancer. So I pray everyone watching this video to join the groups and fight for basic human rights, because right now we don't have them. We are in a state of emergency because it's not possible that we now want the children to develop cancer or to kill the mothers. I mean, it just this situation is quite alarming and unbearable, honestly, to be honest with you. The results of a study have shown that people who have said that they have a conflict of interest, in relationships of a month or longer, have a increased risk to developing sicknesses, and a lower possibility, lower speed to get healthy again. Chronic stress in old people and sick people has long effects on the health. And chronic stress has also shown compromise the development in the children, lowering the production of the hormone, growth hormone, from the pituitary gland. And also in the children which are associated in a conflictual domestic situation, they end up being alcoholic or abuse kids. Most generally in the prenatal life and in the childhood and up to puberty, these are periods, critical periods, in which the vulnerability to the stress factors is extremely high. So it is of no good to put children in institutes and or eliminate the parents. Chronic stress also damages parts of the brain where the memories are elaborated and conserved. When people are stressed, the stress hormones they are really injected in the system, and this damages the brain. The secretion from glucocorticoids, among which is cortisol. These are hormones, steroid hormones, that the suprarenal gland releases, and this can increase the memories of long-term lowers the long-term I'll check this, I don't know what this is. The hippocampus is very important in the brain for the memorization of some types of memories, and damaging the hippocampus can create problems on the memory, developing new memories, old memories, even memories before the damage was done, and you can lose memory. Also, high levels of cortisols are linked to deterioration of the hippocampus and decline in the memory, which old people can experience later in life. Chronic stress damages the learning processes. You actually just get a preference of the learning which is based on something repetitive. It reduces the flexibilities in the job execution of tasks, and the memory of spatial work, probably through alterations of the dopaminergic systems. Stress can also increase the hunger, so there is weight increasing, and eating habits get change, and this is not really good. Stress can also lead to other disturbs, which are also fibromyalgia, chronic tiredness, depression, and somatic symptoms, functional somatic symptoms. So this is what I found in Wikipedia about stress, which is quite fast resume of what happens. Then another article I found from the 29th of March 2018, putting children in adoption or in these centers for children increases the risk of death of the mothers, and they have discovered that a high rate of suicides, which are 2.8 times more, and mortality rate for suicide it was 4 times more for the mothers who lost children of custody of their children. They have discovered that the mothers whose children have been given away had 3.5 times more probability to die of causes which are not which are evitable, and they commit self-harm and suicide, and 2.9 times more probability to die for causes which are inevitable, like street accident and cardiovascular sicknesses. Losing a child is traumatic, but it's happening, and the mothers whose children have been assisted have often not good health conditions, like mental health diseases and abuse of substances. In a recent study, the author discovered that when a child goes to adoption, the physical state and mental state of the mother lowers significantly. And losing a custody of a child can be very traumatic and make you feel that the life doesn't have a sense, which is so. And I don't think that these people don't know what they're doing, because like in Switzerland, the rate of suicide is quite alarming. I knew this since child, and it has ever since increased. I was always wondering how is that possible and why the reasons could be. And well, now we know what the reasons are. And a study made in Sweden has shown that at the age of 18, more than 16% of children given in outside of the family have lost one of the parents, compared to the 3% only of the children which are not given to adoption. This means that many children given to adoption don't have the possibility ever to reconnect and get back to their family, and this is a humanitarian crisis. Canada has one of the highest rates of children in given outside, and especially children of foreigners. Recently, Jane Philpott, the Minister of Foreign Services, has defined the system of assistance in childhood like a humanitarian crisis. So these families should be supported. So these are the articles I wanted to talk about and to inform you, if you didn't have had time to read in our group Girl, where I post quite a lot of articles about this and try to understand why this is happening and so on. I want to show you also that I have accused in the penal tribunal the psychologists that have made false reports on me and the kid, and they were all dismissed as if, but I didn't get any accusation back, which means that I have provided quite enough proof for what I'm saying, but they just don't want to take this into account. I have even accused the social services, and on the 15th July I got also a reply from them, and they say that they don't see elements of relevant penalty. I mean, the health of children is not something that is relevant or needs to be further investigated according to the public ministry of my town. And yeah, then I have accused also the other psychologists, and they also don't find that right in the father says child is sick, the father says the child has no light in the eyes, and therefore he has to go to an institute without hearing me, just interviewing the father. And this was for them a professional certificate, psychological certificate. I really don't believe so, because I'm a student in Chinese medicine, and we had courses in medicine, development, medicine, also development and of children, and I had even a course in psychology for 2 years, and I really don't find this certificate as professional, honestly. And even if I didn't have any knowledge in this field, I really also would notice that they are not professional, because they just don't have the tools to evaluate. They don't, from the words also you can understand. I mean, if you base your report on what the father says, I mean, it's quite not scientific in my opinion. And of course, I will not believe that. I mean, they can always say that I'm conflictual, but the things stay. The fact and the evidence stays. I mean, I don't believe in made up stuff. I believe in science. And yeah, even in the meantime, the pediater of my son, he wrote on the 5th of June that he's really shocked about this decision, but the court doesn't want to take this certificate. So yeah. Also, I have in the meantime gone to psychiater, and I have a report about my health state, and I have hidden the information. Actually, I don't want to show you. I forgot to hide my information, but I have a certificate, a health certificate, which says that I don't have any mental problems, like this certificate state. But this, I couldn't give this in court because the judge prohibited me to give him this documentation, even if I have prepared like 50 pages with including this research that I mentioned right now, to inform them what they're doing, and the certificates, the doctors, certificates also. And yeah, I couldn't give this in court because the court doesn't want to see it. So this last week, the news is that the higher court, since I didn't pay these 2,500 francs, the higher court decided that they are not waiting anymore. In the meantime, on Friday, this happened on Thursday, but I didn't know this. This was communicated to my lawyer. And then on Friday, I got the money back from these offices that take your money away this way, so that you cannot pay the tribunal bills. And I got some money back, and I paid immediately these 2,500 francs on Monday. And Monday afternoon, one day before court, which was Tuesday, my lawyer writes me that the tribunal has decided that the time has expired, and I don't have any more a chance to appeal, and actually I have to pay 1,000 francs to my husband for no reason. I mean, for a reason that they decide. And I have to pay my husband 1,000 francs because I didn't have money to have justice. So all these things that you read online, that the women are protected, that victims of domestic violence, they get a free lawyer. This is not true. Actually, in court, my lawyer asks to have a free legal advising. And the judge already said that he will not give it to me because I have enough money. Somehow, I was living with 1,200 francs. Imagine that my rent is 1,700 francs, and I had to live with this money for 4 months. And he said that it's my fault that I didn't pay the higher tribunal, that actually he wished that I had the money, and that the higher tribunal would confirm to me that he decided well. My lawyer doesn't think so, because my lawyer said that I would have probably had success with this. But now I cannot fight anymore for the custody of my child. And what was funny was that even if I don't have any contact with my son, my husband is, so how can I say, he's nervous about me having, even giving presents to my son. I went on Sunday to his town. They were on holiday, and some new housekeeping person that doesn't speak the local language. He's not from Switzerland. She's not from Switzerland, sorry. And this person told me, I went there just to bring presents and see my son, because he started school last week and I wasn't even informed from the school to come to this first day. Something that my husband always was allowed to do. I'm not allowed to do it. And so my son started school. I had a present of our family, a backpack, and I have bought some books for him, and drawings, and I brought this to him on Sunday. This woman opened the door. She said she doesn't speak German, she doesn't speak French, and she said that they are away. I said, okay, I'll just leave you the stuff for Julian. And she took the things, and I left. And what I learned in the court is that my husband produced a WhatsApp print screen where he's showing first that this woman wrote to him something, then she deleted it. There is a deleted message first. And then there is a long message where she's saying, a woman came to look for your son, and she was not polite. And after that he said, how old is she? And she replied, 37. This is what I have seen in the message that was provided to court. So I think this proof should be excluded. I asked for this, but it was not excluded, because it seems like that she wrote, the mother of your son came here, I think, because she could understand that I was the mother, and she never mentioned the word mother. And then he called her and he told her to cancel the first message, and then he told her, write this. So she wrote this, and what is funny is that after someone writes you a message, if this message was, your wife came here while you were not here, and she gave some presents, which they didn't mention, of course, because I have to be the worst parent ever. I was there just for nothing. And in 3 hours, they didn't mention in court that I brought presents for my son. And imagine, would you write, how old was she? I mean, I would write, if someone wrote me, your ex has come here. And he was looking for the child, I would reply at what time or something like this. I see or something. I would not reply how old was he. I mean, this is for me. I don't know. This is a bit weird. So I think this was just he didn't know what to say. Anyway. 37. and he asked how old is she, and she says 37. It's also something really weird because she didn't say around 30, around 40. She said 37. Is kind of strange. Yeah. And also I had a lot of print screens where he's not replying to my messages. I tried to send him this documentation that I just read to you. I tried to send him. I even printed once the documentation because I wanted to inform him that he's damaging my child's brain, and not only also his health and the increased risk of cancer and chronic diseases, other chronic diseases, and suicide. I mean, and he didn't want to read it when I printed it. Now the court didn't want to take it. He's just not interested. I wrote even before I was blocked, because I was blocked from my son's, like officially blocked, because he blocked me on the 21st of February from calling, but I was blocked on the end of August, just end of July, sorry. Just before, a couple of days before my son's birthday. I was blocked completely, like with the court decision, because I dare to say that who damages children should die. And while my husband can say this since 5 years, and they have proof of that already since 5 years, all the messages where he's insulting me and telling me that I'm a piece of shit and everything. And so yeah, I had also a lot of print screens which were really proof that my number was blocked before I was really allowed to be blocked. And I sent a lot of, just not a lot, just this print screen about diseases, and one other article that he's damaging a child, and this is really not good parenting. And my number was blocked. He didn't ever receive these messages, and actually he disinstalled the application that we were using to speak, because probably my son was trying to connect with me, and he didn't know how to manage to stop him, because probably my son since 2 months is now, he's basically a prisoner. Yes, he's in the house of his father, but he's a prisoner because he doesn't have contact with my parents. He doesn't have contact, well, of course, with me, and neither with my nephew, who is with which they have a really close bond. This is all what is happening here, and yeah, the judge said that I will not have my child back, and that I'm not stubborn and not collaborative, and I should make psychiatric visits because I'm really not okay. And then what was funny is that my mother was allowed to enter the court with me, and she had the chance to speak, and she told them that the court is that this looks like a fake court, and which it is, and that I don't have any problems, that actually I'm even working, I'm substituting a doctor right now as my first job in medicine, so which is something I'm really proud of and grateful to this doctor and his family. And she said that this is a shame for Switzerland, and yeah, really, she said it how it is. So this is my update. I still cannot freely visit my son, and the injustice is gonna keep on going like this. So this is news from me, and have a nice evening.